Okay, so we just spent the last hour talking about life after breast cancer treatment. I included some teaching in the beginning, so that made our episode go a little bit longer than we wanted to. So we decided to kind of just stop that one, pick up where we left off. So we were talking about your bone problems that you had, and some of that was really, it was a combination of things. It was a combination of aging that was sped up as a result of your cancer treatment. And so one thing that you did that's everyone's supposed to do, but you did them a little bit more frequently than someone your age because of the chemo, was your bone scan or your DEXA scan. And so so in addition, well, I'll have you talk about your DEXA scan experience, but in addition to the results that come from the DEXA scan and your reports, your verbal reports of pain and changes in your quality of life combined, then they started to make these recommendations for medications, which is where we left off. She was getting Prolia, which is an injection. Where would they do your injection?
In my stomach.
Okay. And you would get that how often in a year?
Every 6 weeks for 3 years.
Okay, that's kind of a lot, right? So much emphasis, like I said before, we place on the surgery, the chemo, the radiation, but for your case, because for some people, the chemo is years, like the liquid chemo. But for your case, it was within 2012, right?
Yes.
But there's still stuff after that.
Right.
Okay. And so every 6 weeks that's a lot. That's a lot of making appointments, sitting in the waiting room, having to go through all the, getting your blood pressure taken, standing on the scale, sitting in the room waiting for the doctor. Did the doctor do your injection or the nurse?
The nurse, the same nurse for 12 years.
We just want to point out, how often a nurse was involved in your care and your treatment, right? Nurses are the largest segment of the healthcare workforce. So Nurse Practitioner Week is coming up quickly. Okay, so we told you got your Prolia. That's to help with bone density, right?
Yeah.
And so tell us about what you understand DEXA scan to be, and what that's like when you actually go have your appointment.
Well, DEXA scan. When I went to have my polio. DEXA scan. I laid on a table, and they have this scan that go across your body.
Did you have to put a gown on?
I had to put a gown on. No.
Could you eat or drink?
Oh yeah, you could eat or drink. It didn't hurt or anything.
You would tell us.
I would definitely tell y'all, because I had a lot of DEXA scans.
Yeah.
And then after you have them, then it goes to the oncologist, and he would call, or I would call him, and he would go over, what they had found. And in the beginning, he said, "Oh, it looks, everything looks good. You're still in the osteopenia stage." And but this last one, that's when he said it was moving more towards osteoporosis. But the endocrinologist, because I had the scan at the second provider, she said in her recommendation, it was still, from what she saw from the same report, it was osteopenia.
And so usually the recommendation for that would be what you were doing, working out, right? And you were doing low impact. Well, originally you were doing Zumba, but later you moved to low impact. And Zumba does have I think they still have Zumba Gold for seniors. So it's low impact, right? Not like jumping or running, things that are going to be, because anytime you jump off the ground and land back down, it's your weight times more. And so that's a lot of stress on the bones. So you were walking, that was low impact. You now you swim. I want to give you credit for everything you're doing. So yeah, it was like almost the end of August. I follow this couple who does personal training, and it was a virtual option. And you agreed to the money and the commitment, because you can't even sign up unless you committed to being able to show up. Was it 5 days a week?
Yes, according to you. I didn't know it was going to be 5 days a week.
I told you to read
and you said you signed up for 5 days.
1 hour.
For 1 hour. And I was the oldest one in the group.
And the most consistent.
Yes.
And you kept a notebook. And so that's why even when it ended, you've been able to continue that whole routine down to the meal plan.
Yes.
And you had a great relationship, very motivating. He was very motivating for you, and you poured into him and your classmates too.
Yes.
So we want to give you credit for that. and then you set goals on how much you wanted to lose. Were you able to reach those goals?
Almost.
Okay, and but you're still committed, right? And
Yes.
physically, your body looks different.
Yes. Physically, I feel better, and I have a lot of energy, so I'm able to do the things that I enjoy to do. And when I get tired, I get my knitting needles and I sit down, and that's the end of the day. But and we just joined, which we haven't done yet, the hiking group.
Oh yeah.
So I'm kind of excited. I have my boots and everything. I'm kind of excited to do that. And I believe with the reclass, now I would have a better outcome. Yeah. At first I was kind of hesitant. I'm like, I'm not going to be doing all those miles. I'll wait for y'all to come back. But now I'm really anxious to start that.
And you said you walked 3 miles yesterday.
I did. Yeah, I did 3 miles yesterday. Of course, I was shopping. But when the clock said
she watches her, measures her steps. So yeah, we started. Yeah. I don't even remember how old, but right, we have a walking group. I don't know how long.
Since the 2019 COVID.
Oh, okay. So a COVID project.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we're walking. It's a small group of us, but we hold each other accountable, and everybody submits their steps for within like a week's. And then she calculates everybody's steps, and then she ranks everyone. And it's just like a motivation and accountability. And we encourage each other to participate and, act out other activities. And we share our pictures. And we have maybe I'm the youngest in the group, I think. But how old is Miss Ollie?
72.
She's our oldest one, and she's your newest. You're her personal trainer.
I'm her personal trainer. She's my coach. I said she's my assistant coach, but she's helping me because I want to become a personal trainer. And
so she says she's training to be a trainer.
Yeah, I'm training to be a trainer, and she's been she rides a bike, she's on treadmill, and so so we're just like two buddies in the afternoon, 2 or 3 times a week, and we work out together for about 45 minutes.
But when you're not training her in the afternoon for your second workout of the day, you're in the morning.
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with one of my buddies from my personal training group that I was participating in. And I'm following the same workouts that my trainer taught us. So I have a library of different exercises, and I just started adding in some others through YouTube University for her.
Yeah, and I started maybe I haven't bought all of them. I bought you weights, right? And the first you started off. How did you start off, and where are you now?
You started that with I believe 8 pounds, and then
you thought that's all you needed, and even though your bags weigh 20 pounds.
Well, he recommended that we have a full weight, and every time I turned around, you said something's waiting at Target for you, and so I have 15 pounds.
Yeah,
but I should be at 20 now.
Oh, good to know.
That don't mean don't be ordering anything. I should be at 20.
We should get and not just the weights. We should get you some other kind of exercise equipment, like you don't have a ball, and even the Bozu. I think that would be great for balance.
Kennel ball.
But not the big ab one.
No, I don't have a big ab one.
So we'll add some of that stuff in there. Yeah. Okay. And what about your shoes? Your footwear?
Yes, I wear Ortho feet.
Okay.
Nothing but the best. It's time for another pair.
Oh,
in case you're trying to.
And the VZs, because you went to the podiatrist.
I went to the podiatrist.
She was black, right?
And she was black. Recommendation of my radiologist oncologist, and she said these are the only shoes and sneakers that I wear is VZs. And so
the podiatrist said that.
The podiatrist said that, yeah. And so I wear those, and there's no other shoe that I would wear at this point because I have flat feet.
Yeah, and even my dad started wearing them, right?
Yeah, he's a copycat.
Yeah. So we'll put those links in the bottom. Okay, so you told us about your DEXA scan and how often you went back to oncology. You graduated from there. What about the eye doctor?
The eye doctor, I also had to go to the eye doctor. But, when COVID came, I didn't go to anybody. I didn't go to anybody when COVID came. So I had to, catch up and go to them. Yeah. Except for, of course, my oncologist and stuff. I went to him.
Yeah. But no real significant changes in your vision, right?
No.
Couldn't see before.
And and a dentist, so I had to go to the dentist. It was recommended by the
Oh, yeah.
endocrinologist that I go to the dentist to make sure I didn't have any jaw issues before I before I started the reclass. So, of course, trying to research dentists and insurances and stuff like that. I haven't done that yet, but I do have a dentist appointment I had a consultation about 3 weeks ago, and the dentist recommended that I do the reclass and the dentist within the same week. Well, it was not, I couldn't get an appointment during that time. And so I had that appointment on the 12th, but they did do the x-rays and everything. And he said, of course, besides all that other stuff, it didn't look like I had any jaw issues. Did I have any jaw? And, the morning I'm right in there and all of a sudden my jaw started, but he said, you didn't, you don't look like you have any jaw issues. Yeah.
And so the dentist that we talked before, how you use TRICARE, military insurance.
Right.
But you're also using Medicare?
No, well, see, Medicare does not pay for dentists or vision for, I don't even think for vets, So, but your dad had told me that he had insurance. And I thought
But you just found out.
I thought it was private and stuff like that. He had told me way back. But I was like, it's probably just for the vets and, he's probably just paying out of pocket. So when I went to the dentist and they give you the sheet of all the work that needs to be done on your mouth,
thousands of dollars,
nothing having to do with the chemo, anything else, because I am scared of the dentist. And thousands of dollars, thousands of dollars. And then I said to my husband, I said, do you have dental insurance? And so he said, yes, I told you we have dentists do TRICARE. And I said, no, TRICARE don't, for dependents. So a card came in the mail and said, it was open season, getting ready to start for vets and their families. So I immediately got on the phone and I signed up. And they said, well, Ms. Madison, you already in the system. The computer told me that, right? And I was like, oh, well, I already have insurance. And so I'll be using that TRICARE when I go back to the dentist so they can cut some of those prices. And now I probably feel real good about having everything that they recommended.
And this all literally just happened this month, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
And so what I told her is she's in her 60s. Her great grandmother lived to be in her 90s.
I'm 67, girl.
And so I said, if you want to live another 30 years, think about the problems you have now. Do you want to live with those problems for another 30 years, or do you want to do something about them, right? So we talked a little bit about her knee problems and her knee pain, and she doesn't want to have knee surgery. Okay, she doesn't have her knees replaced. And so she has to do everything else to really optimize the strength around her knees as much as possible. And so if someone else who is up for surgery, they would just go and have surgery. Are there complications that could be associated with that? Yes. But you have to think about how do I want to live for another, whatever your goal is, God willing, 30 more years, right? And so you have to take that into consideration when you hear the decisions she's making. She's thinking about her future. Mm-hmm. And so with that being said, especially when it comes to oral health, people don't think about the long-term outcomes of their oral health. They just pull it because it hurts and it's cheaper. Mm-hmm. But when you pull teeth, it's there for a reason. I always say God put something there for a reason, right? This tooth is keeping that tooth in place. That tooth is keeping this tooth in place. So once it's gone, there's nothing keeping either that other one in place. So it's going to move. That bone is going to recede, and you're going to see that change on the outside of your face too. It's not a natural part of aging to lose your teeth. You can literally live with the same teeth you got when all your adult teeth came in your entire life. And I don't think that's out there enough. I think because so many of our grandparents had the full set of dentures, we just thought that we just think that's a normal part of life. But if you brush your teeth regularly, at least twice a day, after every meal, but at least twice a day, floss every day, you can reduce those thousands of dollars of bills, because it starts with a cavity, but it can lead to root damage, nerve root death, and that requires you to then have root canals and crowns, and talk about pulling teeth or having to get implants. And that's when you start seeing those thousands of dollars with your name on the same piece of paper. Okay. Floss costs a couple dollars. It's expensive, but it's not nearly as expensive as what she just described in that bill. And so what I told her is just do a little bit at a time, right? Because if we're talking another 30 years, what is taking another 4 years to get this work done?
Right.
You have to put it in perspective. And even I'm kind of at the end, but I originally had the silver fillings, and I wanted the white ones. Plus, my dentist told me that they're supposed to get replaced so often anyway. And I said, well, let's just get started. And so basically, I see her every 3 months, either for a cleaning or to get one of those replaced. And it's taken about 2 years, or it's about 2 years. And so slowly just doing one at a time. We did 2 at a time. I hope we can knock out the other 2 next time. But yeah, that's just what you do, because it can be a little expensive, but you got to think, do you want to keep your teeth, right? And we don't talk about it enough, but oral health is a reflection of the rest of your body. Sometimes it's an early sign, and if you catch it here, you won't have problems in the rest of your body.
Right.
So eyes were fine. Talk about your teeth. Saw some changes there. Mostly associated with aging, though. I think your biggest thing was the bones.
Definitely.
And that continues, because the hair and nails really resolved. But you did get high blood pressure from one of your medications.
Yeah, I got high blood pressure when I was on chemo.
Yeah. And you continue to take that medication.
Right.
Yeah. And you've talked to your doctor about what number you have to get to come off of that. So how's that going?
Right. Well, I had talked to my doctor, and she said if if your blood pressure gets down to 120, to keep a record of your blood pressure for 30 days. And if it comes down, then I'll take you off the blood pressure.
And she recommended, and you understand that if you lose weight, you're likely going to your blood pressure is going to go down with that too. So that's been another motivation for you to lose weight.
Yeah.
And even though you are overweight, as you admitted, you haven't had high cholesterol. No diabetes. No chest pain.
No.
Kidney problems, liver, pancreas. You had a little bit of urinary tract infection.
UTI when we was traveling.
An overactive bladder.
Right.
You took something for that.
I did. I took something for that, and then I went to a urologist, and that wasn't nice.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I was not pleased with that appointment, because they needed a sample. And instead of giving you a chance to drink another bottle of water and pee, they just did an in and out catheterization. Now, in my experience, we don't do that for people who are fully competent and have control of their bladder. And all it takes is you drinking a bottle of water and sitting for 10 minutes. Because, you drink a bottle of water, you're going to need to go in 10 minutes anyway. So I was not pleased with that at all. And I knew you didn't understand what you were agreeing to.
Yeah, I didn't understand that, because I was already on the table. And they said, well, we're going to, and so I'm like, and then I'm like, that was worse than when I had you.
So
that was pain. That wasn't explained very carefully.
So the very tiny hole that you pee out of, we will insert a catheter into that hole. The end of that catheter will go into the bladder, and then we can remove the urine. So typically we do that in people who don't have function, or we need to measure their kidney function very closely. So that's usually hospitalized patients or people who need it for long term. Not her, she wouldn't, that's not necessarily be a candidate for that. In that case, it's more than likely, a time thing. They just want to get through the next appointment. And so I wasn't there, so I can't say, but I know that you can say, I'd rather drink a bottle of water,
Mhm.
wait 10 minutes, see the next patient, and then I'll take their spot. We just switch us.
Mhm. Yeah, that hurt.
Yeah, it's
That hurt
uncomfortable because
very.
it's a very tiny hole and it's not a part of the body you're used to having sensation.
Definitely.
So I just know from my mother, I was not pleased to hear that account.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I think that's everything. No problems with sleeping other than like sometimes you wake up early.
Yeah, sometimes I wake up early if I have to go to the bathroom and can't go back to sleep. But I kind of manage that. Either I'll get up and do something, read, or knit or whatever. But it's not like all the time. Actually, I think it's gotten even better now. So
Yeah.
I was going to bed because you put me on a schedule to go to bed at 9 and get up at 5. And
Mm.
so now what I do is I try to go to bed maybe an hour later.
I think that's when you were in school
But
or
my
something.
bladder is, I mean, when you got to go, you got to go. So.
We're going to talk about what the options out there for overactive bladder and continence in another episode. Because there's a lot of things out there and they improve your quality of life. But last episode we talked about thyroid and I didn't get it. I wanted to just touch on that. So your thyroid can be found right here. It's mostly associated with metabolism. It can work too much or it can work too little. We are going to dedicate an episode for season 2 to the thyroid.
Oh, nice.
But in her, and then she talked about the little glands. You have 4 parathyroid glands that sit on the side here, and they're mostly associated with controlling your calcium levels. And so that's where they were looking in that part of her body. And so the treatment for that would be to just remove them. And then she would be monitored closely and continue to take a supplement. I just wanted to touch on that since we didn't really address it. And then she said she went to the endocrinologist. They specialize in your hormones and your electrolytes. Calcium is one of them. I usually say, get Gatorade. It has a bunch of electrolytes: sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium. Well, the endocrinologist, that's what they specialize in. And so even though primary care might run some labs on you, they're doing your basic labs, complete blood count, chemistry, looking at your liver, kidney, and they might look at your calcium, but that endocrinologist, that's all they look at. So they're going to be looking at very detailed things. They know other labs to add on. That's their specialty. That's their bread and butter. So they're going to start from scratch because they need to get different information that gives them more details. So that's why sometimes when you get referred, you might feel like you're doing the same thing over and over. And that's because those specialties look at different things. And then in one of your other episodes, we talked about something I wanted to talk about that we brought up, and I wanted to address it, but now I can't remember. Well, we're at 23 minutes, so yeah. Anything else about your health that you think we should talk about before we look at your pictures?
I think that we've covered everything. Well, it was a surprise because once I finished endocrinology department, graduated out of it, then I thought I was, just free. But then that's when I was introduced to the endocrinologist, and I was like, oh, here's another specialty, And so, but again, I'm just very satisfied with the medical team that I had, and the fact that I asked questions and they explained it, they talked to you, and and stuff like that. And so you are your best advocate, and I believe that I have definitely been trying to do that. And I appreciate that you enjoy that. You're happy that mommy follow up on her health care.
Yes, it's very important. Because our health doesn't just impact us, it impacts the people around us. And even if we think other people can't see or aren't aware because we don't tell them, we can see that. We know each other very closely. We see how people, as we age, we see those changes. And so, especially when people's health starts to decline, your family sees that. They're just waiting for you to come forward and talk to them about it. So let's look at some pictures. So here's a picture.
Oh.
Yeah, you can tell us.
Well, here's a picture at one of the my support team at the hospital that I had joined, and that's when I had my hair cut off because of the chemo.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you look a little heavier there too.
Oh, definitely. I was definitely heavier before I had the chemo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And right before you got diagnosed, your job, all of you were on like a weight loss.
Weight watches.
It was like it was like a competition, and I think you won the competition.
Yeah, I won the competition.
And like a couple weeks later, everything happened.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely much heavier.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that's that's Janice, my first wig.
Okay.
Tapered in the back in a pink suit and stuff. I was at a breast cancer program.
Okay.
Oh, that's at the military base where I received my treatment. We had a breast cancer walk. Oh no, that's Susan G. Komen.
Yeah, it looks like it.
That's Susan G. Komen.
Race for the Cure.
Yes.
Have you told us? Oh yeah, there's you, Susan. Okay. Oh look.
Yes, that. Okay.
Same dress. For those of you who are listening.
No, it's so funny.
Well, you really love the dress.
Yes, and it fits different. But that's the Susan G. Komen event, a dinner that first year they came to Washington D.C. And tonight I won the flower arrangement, for representing Stafford County.
Oh, okay. And then you wanted me to share your "She Believed So She Could."
Yes, that was one of my.
She believed she could, so she did.
That's one of my inspirational words that I repeated every day.
Okay, so in general, how would you say your health has been your life has been after treatment?
I would say great. I would say great. I'm very satisfied. It's not fair. It's great. Of course, there's always room for improvement. When it comes out, because I was losing, then I gained, and so, but I've lost a lot of inches. So
gained a lot of muscle.
And so yeah, and the travel, doing things that I enjoy doing, because my grandmother always said that you should live each day to the fullest. So and I believe that I have, with what 2 or 3 years that we traveled, had the opportunity to see the world and people of different cultures and backgrounds. And all I can say is give God all the praise, glory, and honor that I'm still here and able to tell my story.
Yeah. Do you have any did you have any depression at all?
No, I didn't have any depression. I think maybe about 6 months out of down the line, I kind of was thinking one day, how did I miss? I didn't see that, because I had a checklist in life. At 25, I'm gonna have my children, I'm gonna get married, I'm gonna finish school at this time. I always had a checklist, but I never had cancer on that list, and so trying to do everything right that I thought I was doing, but realizing that some of the things that I was eating, lots of sugar and stress level and stuff like that, I kind of pondered over that for a while. No, but not in a depressive state, just some thoughts to myself, but there was no depression.
And did you ever think like, how did you think you got cancer?
Well, first of all, I didn't know, because I didn't have anybody in my family with breast cancer. So first I said, well, I don't have, because they asked you, do you have anybody in your family with? I said, no, there's nobody. My aunt had colon, my mother had lung, but nobody with breast cancer. And so when the oncologist, my first appointment after I had taken labs and stuff with him, and he said, your cells is like two teenagers fighting against each other. He said it means that your body had a lot of stress. You're working, you're commuting, you're studying in school, seminary, you're studying for ordination, and you're 52. There's things that lead up to sometime, to cancer diagnosis. And so that's why he promised. He said, if you just sit back for 6 months, cancel all that stuff out, and just do everything that we tell you to do, you'll have a good survival rate. Mm-hmm.
So did you ever go on Google and look up anything?
Oh, everything.
Okay.
Everything. And I want to say I'm not scared of dying because I know where I'm going when that time comes, when my little light goes out, as you said. So I want to make that clear, but I just didn't want y'all to be motherless children.
Mm.
And that was one of the things that kept me going, that I would take anything
Oh,
that
okay.
they have, because I didn't want y'all to be motherless children, because I was blessed to have my mother till she was 75. And so that was one of the things that had kept me going.
Okay. And what about anxiety?
Anxiety, besides the needles?
Yeah, like maybe every time you go get a mammogram, or they take your blood, or you go see another specialist.
No, I didn't, because I still continued doing self-examination. And because I had started mammograms at 40, I never felt. But when I went for one of the mammograms, and they said they thought they saw something, and then I was like, oh no, here we go again. And I didn't have any anxieties until the nurse told me that, you was out there crying, and then my adrenaline kind of went up, and we had to go back into the room so I can, be examined and stuff like that. And then they came and they said, everything's clear.
Okay. Well, I have anxiety when I get mammograms, not the mammogram itself, but when I wait to get the results.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be normal and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I think that wraps it for this episode. Well, this part 2, this the 2-parter of the multi-series. So yeah. So basically I think overall is just like life can be better, right?
Yeah.
And you can start a new chapter, and you start doing great advocacy work and getting involved and being comfortable sharing your story. And it's grown your network. And because you have been so vocal, it probably has contributed a lot to your mental health being so good. It's not bottled up, and you're not keeping it to yourself.
Oh, definitely. And you're the first person I will share that with. But yeah.
Well, I don't think that's true, because you're always trying to protect me.
Well, yeah, but when when I think it's something, a little scary, I'll share it with you. I just try to find the time to share it with you.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you again, everyone. All the resources that we mentioned will be down in the description box. You already know we used this episode to talk about life after treatment. We went through all the body systems. We talked about how she continued to follow up with all her healthcare providers, the complications or the health changes that she experienced, including high blood pressure, osteopenia, hair loss, the nail changes, and then all that kind of paralleling just aging. And all the things she's done to maximize, to take her power back into her hands and do everything she can, both with knowledge, but also with commitment, right? Making choices that will benefit her health. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, this show is for educational purposes only. The opinions expressed here are opinions alone. They are not a representation of any of our affiliations. If you're experiencing a medical emergency, you should seek medical attention from a medical provider. If you think you're having a physical emergency, you can call 911. And if you or someone else you know is having a mental health emergency, you can call 988. You can email us your questions or show ideas to tmi.melanin@gmail.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Please share with your friends. Rate us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever app you're listening to us, and leave a comment. It really helps the show grow and get the support that we need, but it also helps get the message out there to the people who need it. You can find our social media links and the list of resources related to our conversations today in the description box. We release a new show weekly on TMI Tuesdays at 10 a.m. on YouTube and all your favorite apps. Follow, like, and share the content with your friends. And thank you for watching. Thank you, Mommy.
Thank you, daughter.